I don't know what Patrick Star and a stormtrooper are doing in the BattleTech universe, or why they are fighting each other. But I know they have lightsaber Legos representing their vibro swords, because in my headcanon, all vibro swords have LED lights in them. Just accept it. And accept my melee combat rules handout. This contains a logical reconstruction of the 4 bullet points on page 175. For me, the logical reconstruction is easier and faster to read in the heat of the moment. In melee combat, the attacker makes a melee attack roll, and the defender makes an opposed melee defense roll. Based on who succeeded or failed, and by what MOS or MOF, various things could happen, which page 175 and my handout explain. Consider reviewing the opposed action checks rules if you aren't clear on them. Let's begin. Okay. The white and black die will represent the stormtrooper, because the stormtrooper has a white and black camo scheme. The green die will represent Patrick, because Patrick has green shorts. They have the same character sheet, which is the same character sheet that I used for Thug Bob and Officer Fred in a previous video. That's just to make things easier on me, as I'm playing 2 characters. And these are this is where I track stuff, like conditions. Okay, let's begin in the initiative phase. Patrick got a 10, and the stormtrooper also got a 10. In the event of a tie, the reflex scores break the tie. But these 2 characters have the same stats, so that is tied also. So we re-roll. Patrick got an 8, stormtrooper got a 6. So Patrick won initiative. Patrick has a walking rate of 10 and a running rate of 20 meters per turn. We are playing at the 2 hex per meter scale, so the walking rate becomes a 5 and the running rate becomes a 10 in movement points, or MP. So let's see where Patrick can go. 1, 2, 3, 4 for rough terrain. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Patrick ran, so he's going to get a black die. How far did he run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 hexes at 2 meters per hex is 18 meters. 18 is between 10 and 45, so Patrick gets a -1 target movement modifier. Running is a simple action. Patrick gets 2 simple actions per turn. He's going to use his melee weapon skill as his second simple action. Time to add up the modifiers. Range is not applicable in melee combat. Target cover, the target has no cover. Attacker movement. The black die reminds us that Patrick ran. That's a -2. Target movement. The stormtrooper has 6 pips up on his movement die, indicating a target movement modifier of 0. Target size is 0. Attacker actions and conditions, none of those yet. And I think that's about it, except for the skill level, link, and weapon mod. Patrick's skill level for melee weapons is a 4, which is linked to reflex and dex. Patrick has a 0 link mod in both reflex and dex. And there are no weapon mods for the vibro sword. So his skill level, link, and weapon mod become 4 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, which is just 4. -2 plus 4 is 2. And we have to do the same thing for the stormtrooper. Range is inapplicable. Target cover 0. Attacker movement. The stormtrooper, you'll notice, has a blue movement die, indicating he hasn't moved. 0. Target movement. Patrick has a 1 pip up on his movement die, indicating a target movement modifier of -1. Target size 0. attacker actions and conditions. The Stormtrooper, as an attacker, is defending in this melee. So you'll notice attacker secondary target / defending versus melee, -1. So if you're defending against a melee attack, it's a little harder for you. It's -1 harder. And that's it. And then skill, link, and weapon mod's the same because they have the same character sheets. So that becomes 2. And now we roll off. Patrick got an 8. Stormtrooper got a 4. So Patrick, with that 8, 2 plus 8 is a modified roll of 10. The target number is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Patrick got an MOS of 2. The Stormtrooper got a 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. Target number 8. 6 minus 8 is -2. Stormtrooper can't hit anything. Missed by 2. MOF of 2. So Patrick successfully strikes the Stormtrooper. So we're going to be using this formula, the melee armed formula from the standard damage table. The weapon damage for the Vibro Sword is the base damage, which is a 3, plus the winner's strength divided by 4. The strength score for Patrick is 5, divided by 4, plus the winner's MOS divided by 4. Now the winner's MOS is 2, but since this is an opposed action check, it's the net MOS we care about. So this MOF of 2 gets added in absolute value to the winner's MOS of 2 to become 4. And we add all these fractions up. So that becomes 3 plus 5 over 4, which is 1 1/4, which rounds up to 2, plus 4 over 4, which is just 1, and that becomes 6. If you're wondering why we divide the MOS by 4, that's just so that for every 4 points of MOS you get, you do an extra point of damage. Hitting by more does more damage. That's why we do that. Now we want to compare the armor penetration of the weapon to the bar value of the armor. We see that Patrick's Vibro Sword has an armor penetration, or AP, of 6 melee. And the Stormtrooper's bar against melee is 3. 6 is greater than 3. So the weapon's armor penetration value of 6 is greater than the armor's barrier rating of 3. So the armor cannot reduce the incoming damage. And the Stormtrooper will take the full 6 points of damage. Suffer 1 point of fatigue damage and stun effects. We want to remember to track power points for the Vibro Sword on both characters. This is like tracking ammo. Because the Stormtrooper took damage, we have to check the Stormtrooper's back. Back is the memory trick I use to remember all the checks. It's BACK. B is for bleeding check, A is for armor degradation check, C is for consciousness check, and K is for knockdown check. The bleeding check happens whenever a character takes standard damage equal to... The bleeding check happens whenever the character takes standard damage greater than their BOD score divided by 2. The Stormtrooper's BOD score is 6, divided by 2 is 3. Whenever the Stormtrooper takes more than 3 points of damage, it has to make a BOD check, and that goes for all characters. So BOD check time, or else he bleeds. The BOD check is going to be a 2d6 roll plus his BOD score of 6, and that must meet or beat a 12. It's a single attribute check, unmodified. All right, that's a 7. 7 plus 6 is 13, which meets or beats a 12. The Stormtrooper is not bleeding. Up next, armor degradation. If a character takes 5 or more points of armor defeating damage in one attack, all of their armor bar values decrease by 1. This happened because the Stormtrooper took 6 points of damage. So what was once a 3 becomes a 2. What was once a 4 becomes a 3. What was once a 3, a 2, and 2, a 1. The armor has degraded. We also need to attack damage penalties. Because of all this damage, the Stormtrooper has a -2. No fatigue damage penalties yet. And the walking movements all decrease by 2. The walking movement was a 10. Now it's an 8, which becomes 4 MP. Walking movement was a 20. It's now an 18, which becomes 9 MP. If we got a fraction, we would round it up. Now for the consciousness check. That's going to be a 2d6 roll plus the will link mod of 1 plus any damage penalties, which is -2, and that must meet or beat a 7. All right, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Becomes 8 minus 1, which is 7, which meets or beats a 7. The Stormtrooper is still conscious. Oh, and the last thing, K, knockdown check, that's an optional rule. And we're not using it right now, but it helps the spell back, so I threw it in. All right, that was Patrick's turn. It is now the Stormtrooper's turn. He is stunned, so he's going to take a simple action to shake off that stun. Although he didn't have to do that. He could have chosen to attack with that stun, but that would have given him a -6 penalty. So he's going to shake off the stun as a simple action, and then he'll attack again without the -6 penalty. All right, let's clean off the sheets and add up the modifiers. All right, range isn't applicable, target cover, none of that. Attacker movement, the attacker is not moving, so that's a 0. Target movement, Patrick still has that 1 pip up, so that's a -1. Attacker actions and conditions, the Stormtrooper has a -2 from all the damage. And I think that's it. Yeah, so that becomes, 0. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 0. Now for Patrick's modifiers, not applicable, 0. Attacker movement, the attacker did run, so -2. Target movement, 0, because Stormtrooper has 6 pips up. Target size, 0. Attacker actions and conditions. Patrick is now the defender, so he gets a -1, because he's defending in this melee attack. Miscellaneous, and I think that's it. So, -3 plus 4 is 1. Now we roll off. All right, Patrick got a 10. 1 plus 10 is 11. Target number, 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. MOS of 3. Stormtrooper got a 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. Target number, 8. 4 minus 8 is -4. The Stormtrooper missed again, and even worse this time. So, going back to the damage formula, weapon damage, 3, plus the winner's strength divided by 4 is 5/4, plus the winner's MOS is 3, plus 4, which is 7, over 4. Rounding time. See, 7 over 4, that's 1 3/4, which is 2, based on how we round. So that's 7 damage. The AP is still 6. But the bar on the Stormtrooper against melee is now a 2. It's no longer a 3. But it doesn't really change anything because the armor's not reducing any damage anyway. So the Stormtrooper's taking 7 points of damage. And the Stormtrooper only has 6 points of damage left. So the Stormtrooper has been defeated by our valiant hero, Patrick Star.